Tuesday, 14 May in the year of our Lord 2024. Thank you for sticking around for the second hour of our afternoon and early evening show here in the War Room. I want to bring in Tiffany Justice now. Massive lawsuit filed today in federal court regarding Title IX and Moms for Liberty and other groups. So, Tiffany, first, give us give us some background. I know people follow this Title IX, but I'm not sure they know the details of what the Biden regime has done here to expand the powers of it and actually, I think, distort what the original meaning of Title IX was. So can you walk us through it before we talk about the suit?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Steve, for the opportunity. So on April 19th, the Biden administration, through the Department of Education, did a radical overhaul of Title IX. Title IX, which we knew to protect girls' sports, to protect women in their educational progress. And we've seen great progress for women across the country under Title IX. But in 52 years now, a total overhaul, redefining sex to include gender identity and sexual orientation. Let me break it down for what it means for you in your kid's school or for your grandchild. This means boys on your granddaughter's sports team. This means boys in your daughter's locker room or bathroom. This means that if a child presents with gender confusion at school, the school will help the child to go through that, and they'll keep it from you as the parent. They'll consider it you to be the harm if you don't affirm your child's wish of changing their gender. So a very simple rule, totally overhauled by the Biden administration. And let's make no mistake, this is about changing the culture of our country, changing America.
I thought a lot of the reason we had the school board takeovers, the parents furious, they're getting control at the local level, was to fight exactly this. How did Biden, these guys, they look for a way to federalize this problem, and that's why they chose Title IX and kind of this redraft of it?
Yes, for anyone who was sitting on Easter Sunday and saw the Biden White House celebrate Transgender Day of Visibility, you know that the Biden administration is pushing this down from the federal level, and they're using everything they can in order to tell our children that perhaps they were born in the wrong body or to push gender ideology. There are lots of reasons that people will say that they're doing this, but the bottom line is it's not good for our kids and it's not safe. Parents are very concerned about their children's safety in school, and so this new federal lawsuit is very exciting. This is Kansas, Wyoming, Utah, and Alaska. Moms for Liberty, Young Americans for Freedom. Very excited about being able to push back. You know, Steve, we're only a 3-year-old organization. So to see us be able to participate in a lawsuit like this that has the potential to get a nationwide preliminary injunction on this new rule so it does not go into effect in this new school year is very exciting for us. And I want to tell you about the lawsuit because it's very unique. Our moms are very brave.
Before we get in the lawsuit, this is what I understand. They used Title IX. They changed the aspects of Title IX. I thought Title IX was there. How did they change it without going through Congress?
This is Title IX is a extension of Biden's executive order that I think he put out on the 4th day that he was in office, and so he's able through this new rule to change the way the policies with which the schools are handling this issue of discrimination or non-discrimination, and so. You would think he needs congressional authorization to be able to do something like that. Right now, I think the last time I came on with you, I told you that Congress has 60 legislative days in order to be able to strike this rule down. Biden will still sign it. It will go into effect law. But it would be nice to see our Congress members taking a stand against Title IX and these horrible changes. The idea that the Biden administration wants to blur the lines between biology, men and women, is just astounding. And to be clear, also, this affects you if you get $1 of federal funding. So it affects our Department of Health and Human Services, our school lunch programs that run through the USDA. All kinds of things will be affected by this new rule and will affect your children's life and their safety and your parental rights.
So talk to us about the lawsuit.
Yes. So this lawsuit filed today, Kansas taking the lead here. We have 4 moms that have stood up and said, we're going to put our names out. We're going to take a stand on Title IX, against Title IX, and say to Joe Biden, no, you will not be allowed to keep any secrets from me about my children. And you will not force me to lie to my children about men and women. And you will not force my child to feel like they need to lie when they're in school in case they have a teacher who one day is a boy and next day is a girl. But that's what this new Title IX rule will do. It will compel the student's speech, and it will chill their speech, so they will not be able to be honest when they're at school. One of the women who's taken a stand, her daughter has mandatory swimming at school. So she has no choice about changing in the locker room. And there are boys who think they are girls who want to go in that locker room with her daughter. And if she expresses concern about that, if that girl stands up and says, I don't feel safe or I'm not comfortable, now she's the problem. Now a Title IX sexual harassment complaint could be filed against her for standing for her privacy and her safety.
Unbelievable. Now, the parents actually, correct me if I'm wrong, the reason this is a little different, the parents actually are putting their names on this?
Yes, we've seen other cases that are filed, and we're thankful for every single case. But two things that make this case unique: Young Americans for Freedom and Moms for Liberty, we have chapters all across the United States of America. And so we're really hopeful that this case will garner a nationwide preliminary injunction, as I said, so that this rule does not go into effect on August 1st. I know there are school districts right now that are wondering, should we be making changes to come in compliance with this rule? And we've seen superintendents around the country say to those school districts, wait, hold the line. We believe that this is going to be challenged in court. And in fact, you've seen now 7 court cases. You can go to momsforliberty.org. We have a Title IX resources page where we have all of those different cases that have been filed there, as well as a wealth of information about Title IX. But yeah, the moms standing up now and speaking out and putting their names out. You guys know people are getting doxxed all the time. They're standing up and they're speaking out, and people are trying to fire them from their jobs. They're trying to hurt them or their families. And the time is now to stand. This will not get any easier. And so I'm just so proud of our moms taking this stand, standing up for the rest of our members and giving them a voice. And Steve, most of the cases that Moms for Liberty has been involved in since we started have been First Amendment cases. So I'm really proud that moms are on the front lines of defending the First Amendment.
We had Kelly Collins on today in this morning show and kind of lit everybody up, got everybody excited about the precinct strategy. She also mentioned, hey, you got to get involved at any level that you feel comfortable with. School boards, homeowners association, town councils, etc. We're 4.5 months before early voting starts in certain states like North Carolina. We're 6 months away roughly from the election day. Talk to me. Where do you think we stand as far as parental rights, this big movement that you're one of the leaders in?
Yeah, it's very concerning because we've made so much progress over the past few years when it comes to parental rights, right? Parents' bills of rights all over the country being put into place. We saw gender identity and sexual orientation instruction, no longer allowed in Florida. And we've seen, I think, 9 different states with school choice education savings accounts being started. So we've made a lot of progress in advancing parental rights in education and in so many different aspects. So this rule wants to rewind and obliterate all of that, and we just can't let it stand. As far as parental rights driving people to the polls, my advice for anyone running for office this cycle is stand up. Hold the torch of liberty. Tell the constituents that you have in your district, I believe in fundamental parental rights. I am going to be a warrior for you on the front lines, ensuring that you have the right to direct the upbringing of your children. And I promise you, there are voters that have not been involved before in elections, that have not voted the way that maybe they should have in primaries in the past, that are watching now and saying, who are my people? Who is going to stand and defend me when the going gets tough? Who's not going to allow COVID to happen again, where you strip me of my parental rights and watch me be and make me be complicit in harm of my child? And so I just think the moment is now for everyone in America to put kids first. And we can do that by, as you said, running for office. I served on school board. I loved my time there. It's an honor and a privilege to serve our country. And if you can run for office or you can help your friend who's running, please do that. Also on our website, we're doing winning workshops all over the country. You can go and check out that schedule. See if we have one near you, because we're teaching you how to run for office, how you can help your friends run for office. We have a campaign toolkit that really makes it very easy if you're a first-time candidate. And I always tout the fact that 83% of the endorsed candidates by Moms for Liberty for school boards had never run for office before. So this is a totally new cohort of Americans. We're building a new bench of people that are concerned about the future of our country and are going to take a stand and put their name out there and be brave. So I think it's a great time to be an American, and we're ready to make America great again, Steve.
It's amazing. One more time, just give us a minute. I just want people to understand how radical this Biden regime is on Title IX. Just give me a summary again. What have they done with Title IX that I know will shock people if they focus on it?
So Title IX, a rule that for 52 years protected girls and women in education and sports, has now been totally overhauled by the Biden administration. They want to put boys in your girls' locker rooms, allow boys on your girls' sports teams, and they want you to have to lie to your child. They want you to send your child to school and make them play make-believe with people about whether or not they're a boy or a girl. And that's compelled speech, and the Constitution and our rights don't allow for that, our protected rights. So this overhaul is more than just a sports issue. This is an issue about free speech. This is an issue about parental rights. And this is really the Biden administration taking every avenue they can before they're out of office to try to change the very fabric of what we know it means to be an American.
And what they want to do is make your child, who's just getting about their business, the problem. And that's what we can't allow to happen. It's hard enough growing up in modern America. It's hard enough being parents. This is why your organization's so powerful and so important. Where do people go to find out more about you, Tiffany? Where do they go to get more involved with Moms for Liberty?
Yes, go to Twitter. You can follow, or X. I'm sorry, I still say Twitter. I'm sorry. Go to X and you can follow me at the #4 Tiffany Justice. Follow Moms #4 Liberty. There you go. And then you can follow us on a number of different social platforms. Just search for Moms for Liberty. Go to our website. Check it out. We have a national summit coming up at the end of August this year. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Very excited about that. And very excited that, Steve, we have a lot of moms who are delegates apparently at the Republican National Convention. And just seeing so many people. Yeah, it's I think I've said to you before, the Republican Party hasn't always been as welcoming as I think it could be to new people coming in. And what I'm seeing now is a whole new future of young people getting involved. And that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. By the way, check out their convention because that'll be the answer. It happens right after the Democrats have theirs, so it'll be the answer to a lot of the stuff on the social side and about the American family. Your conference, your convention will answer that. Tiffany Justice, once again, thanks. Thanks for filing this lawsuit. We'll follow it closely, man.
Thanks, Steve.
Moms for Liberty, Tiffany Justice, offense, offense, offense. That's what we tell people. Do not get them. Don't let them back you in the corner. Don't go on defense. You think it's turbulent? Look about Title IX, the radical overhaul of Title IX. What they're trying to do is just like the Chinese Communist Party, just like Marxists throughout history, trying to break the traditional family, and they're trying to use the children to do it. They're trying to make sure you as a parent have a struggle session every day. It's unacceptable. We're not going to tolerate it. We're going to stay on offense. But it obviously means times of turbulence are here, and they're not going away, not just in the economy, but society overall. Ben Harnwell is going to join us in a minute. We're going to talk about this mass migration. Obviously, is one of the things driving numbers here, but it's relentless right now. Saw a tweet the other day. People were saying, hey, the Islamic Jihad Association, the group, is saying, hey, we're going to take over. We're going to take over America, and we're going to take over all of Europe, and they intend to do it by this mass migration. Times of turbulence. You need a financial hedge. I don't know, 8,000 years of recorded history. Gold has been that hedge. Find out why. Talk to Philip Patrick and the team over at Birch Gold. Now, we've put out the end of the dollar empire. We got a big announcement with Birch Gold, what we're going to do with that. All the installments have been free. The fifth one's about central bank digital currency. But if you go to birchgold.com/Bannon, you can also get access to Philip Patrick's team, talk about all the tax-deferred, tax-free instruments of how you can change your 401ks, your IRAs, all of that. Talk to the experts. They'll walk you through it. birchgold.com/Bannon. Go do it today. We teach you the macro here in the capital markets. They teach you the micro. Ben Harnwell from Rome. Ben, talk to me about mass migration, or what we call the invasion here of the United States by illegal alien invaders. It is, if you look at politically with the European parliamentary elections coming up in June, this is really the single biggest issue back in Brexit in 2016. People don't like to talk about that. Boris Johnson took the route. There was all these laws from Brussels, and yes, that was a part of it. But the big part was the mass illegal invasion of Europe, that people want to step up and get the sovereignty of Great Britain back. Give me an update on that.
Well, Steve, you've been saying this for years, and you've now been 100% vindicated. The Franco-German television cultural network Arte has commissioned a poll by a BVA-X site. And Steve, the results are now. By the way, Arte is a broadly left. Obviously, it's a cultural art type network, very much of the centre left background. I know I've given a few interviews to them in the past myself. So the fact that these results have been commissioned, this poll has been commissioned by this organisation, is not intended to feed in to the war room's narrative, and yet it does. Listen to this. Listen to the headline statistics. Now, absolutely astonishing. So this poll was conducted right across the European Union. 4 out of 5 respondents out of every single EU member state believed that the bloc needed to take more action to combat illegal immigration. Now, when I say 4 out of 5, that's the bottom edge of the average, right? The lowest results that agreed with that statement were Denmark and Luxembourg, that pegged in at 79%. The maximum figure, on the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, Portugal at 91%. Steve, this is the number, as you have said. Give credit to you, full credit to you, Steve. This is the number one political issue facing the European Union. And now I think far too late, the political class is going to be waking up to this.
Yeah, slow down. I want to hit rewind on this. Walk me through the poll. These results, when you're talking 80%, right, from a general poll like this, these are beyond blowout numbers. I mean, this is basically the will of the people. This is what they want. This is what they're demanding. So walk us back through the poll. Who took it? Who are they? And I want to walk through the results. If you break out some countries, it'd be great.
Yeah. So it's BVA-X site, basically like a European version of Gallup or something like that. It was conducted by, as I say, Arte, which is the French-German cultural art network. So let's go through some of these figures again. 4 out of 5 respondents in every EU member state said the bloc needed to take more action to combat illegal immigration. The Danes and the Luxembourgers came in at 79% agreeing with that, which is the lowest result pegged on that metric. The maximum came in at 91% by the Portuguese. The statement that Europe needs more immigration today had an average across the Union of only 39% and didn't register a single EU member state having a majority in favour of that statement, that Europe needs more immigration. That's on migration, Steve. The second part of this poll, which is really, I think, just as equally, it ought to be equally terrifying to the European sociopathic overlords, is the segment on Ukraine. Now, those in favour of the European Union increasing its economic aid to Ukraine come in at 48%. Those wanting to see its military aid to Ukraine increasing was 45%, and those wanting to take more Ukrainian refugees, 43%. Every single one of those metrics, Steve, you will have noticed this, is in the minority. Increasing economic aid to Ukraine, increasing military aid to Ukraine, and taking in more refugees from Ukraine. Those are all less than 50%.
And I want to talk about the arc of this. I mean, when the war first started a couple of years ago, I mean, these were in the 70s, right? That's kind of unanimous support of people being fed what the mainstream media was telling them.
Right. Well, look, it has varied from member state to member state, and those countries that are most nervous about Russia are obviously going to be the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, where their registered numbers in like the mid-30s to the high 30s, and that's, for example, in favour of a ceasefire. The strongest country, Steve, the strongest country in favour of a ceasefire was Italy at 76%. Hungarians come in at 74% and Bulgarians at 73%. And I flagged that up because we did mention it very, very briefly on the show yesterday. We didn't get to go into too much detail. And I sort of suggested that it's not by chance that Italy's defense minister, Guido Crosetto, came out and said that there needs to be a truce straight away between Ukraine and Russia, and then a negotiated peace on the back of it. Now, this guy is a pillar of the Italian establishment, very much has a history with Italy's own military-industrial complex in his professional career. Why is he coming out and saying this? Well, it's obviously because they're looking at the same figures that we are, and they are, as I said, I think, with Natalie in the evening show, what is driving these kind of statements is, and you mentioned it in your introduction as well, it's the European elections around 3 weeks away. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to, in panic, trying to give soundings, much like Mike Johnson did, that he's sort of with the people, that he understands where they're coming from on, say, migration, Ukraine. Of course, if they're given another majority after the election, these people have a track record of not being able to be trusted. And then, of course, the European people will get exactly what they deserve. But these are the figures that are coming out today. And I think that it's very much an endorsement of everything the war has been saying, and an illustration of how much the European Union leadership is in full meltdown mode.
Ben, have when you go back and talked about this support in the numbers that are below a majority, they're in the minority now, about continuing to finance the war, send weapons to the war, support the war, have the media there, or the political class, started to talk to the European people, nation by nation, of what the trade-off has to be if they continue down this path, not just with giving more money to Ukraine? And of course, we had the minister. You had the story about the minister the other day. Says it's going to be, and he was, look, it's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars if you want us to win, right? And it's going to be over a long period of time. Have they started to talk to people about where the cuts in their own healthcare? Because although they have universal healthcare, in a lot of countries it's not great. The United Kingdom, you got to wait forever, right? It's not great. Cuts in pension, pushing out retirement ages. Has anybody had the conversation, or starting to have the conversation in a straightforward way with the voting populace of these individual nations of what the trade-off is? And if you want NATO to actually be an alliance with the United States and not a protectorate, because we're not going to allow a protectorate anymore under America First, you have to be allies. If you add that cost into it, into the joint defense, what the lifestyle changes are going to be?
No, there's been absolutely no debate on this. That basically, as I often say on the show, you can't spend the same dollar twice, and it's the same. Just as really that mature conversation hasn't been taken place by the Biden administration with the American people. The conversation hasn't taken place really here in Europe either. It's basically, we're fighting for democracy, we're fighting against Putin's totalitarian regime, and it's basically costless. Don't worry about it. You won't feel the impact of this. That's the mood music. It's the same in the States. It's the same here in Europe. Of course, I think these figures show that the people aren't as stupid as our political leadership assume them to be, and that's why you're starting to see a massive fight back against that. You said two things in your question, Steve, if I might quickly pivot off them. You mentioned Ukraine's Justice Minister, Denis Malyuska, who said that they're going to require hundreds of billions in order to win this war. There's a question that I didn't get to mention this on the show when we covered this, but there's an immediate consequence of that reality. And let's go back to when Mike No Johnson Johnson famously did his U-turn and stabbed MAGA in the back, citing intelligence briefings that he'd read that morning. Here's my question, Steve. Was the true cost of winning this war in those intelligence briefings that caused him to pivot, right? Because there were two follow-ons. If he was aware of the true cost when he stabbed MAGA in the back, then he's a knave, he's a charlatan. Now, how dare he present himself to the press with calling himself MAGA Mike, right? How dare he, if that was the basis of his stab in the back, knowing full well that 61 billion wasn't going to be anywhere near sufficient. If he didn't know, then he's a putz, and he's been manipulated and used like a person of no consequence by the Biden regime, and he's out of his depth and unable. It is pathetic. So, there's no third option here. Did he know the true cost of the war when he U-turned, or did he not? The second thing that I want to quickly mention, Steve, if I may.
I tell you what, hang on. I want to hold you through break. I'm going to get to this on the other side. Ben Harnwell, European parliamentary elections are less than a month away. I think this is going to be the predicate for the big victory of MAGA in America First in November, just like Brexit was in 2016. One thing we try to do here is prepare you for times of turbulence so you can get access to the best people. My Patriot Supply, the number one company for preppers, is now expanded their product offering, their services. This is the best team in the business, and you have full access, not just to Joe Reek and senior management. You got access to their consultants. Just go to mypatriotsupply.com today. You need to be prepared, like the old Boy Scouts. You need to be on watch, right? You can't just slough it off anymore because there's too much happening. And quite frankly, too many storm clouds are gathering on the horizon. That's mypatriotsupply.com. Same for Jace Medical. Dr. Sean Rowland and the team took action during the pandemic about the supply chains, built an entire company around this. Now with the cyber attacks, the threats of the hurricanes, everything's shutting down on the medical side, the pharmaceutical side, the shortages. Go to jacemedical.com today/Bannon. Find out, talk to the consultants there of Dr. Sean Rowland and find out how you get ahead of the curve. Be prepared. Ben Harnwell, Joe Allen, next in the War Room.
All this nonsense, all this spin, they can't handle the truth.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, War Room in the 6 o'clock hour brought to you by Birch Gold. We're going to have Philip Patrick on Saturday. Very hard for us to get him on the show, but it's easy for you to get to him and his team. Just go to birchgold.com/Bannon. Now more than ever, you need to know about, hey, when you've got the BRICS nation central banks buying gold with both hands in record amounts, time for you to now learn all about it, particularly with the continued drop of purchasing power. You saw the producer price index today accelerating at an accelerating rate. Is inflation at the wholesale level? Don't get caught out. birchgold.com/Bannon. Go do it today. Take action, action, action. Ben Harnwell, continue on, brother.
So Antony Blinken made his fourth visit to Kiev since the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And I assumed that the purpose of this photo op was to allow Zelensky, with the presence of the Secretary of State, US Secretary of State, to have a photo op to bitch for more weapons and funding. And of course, that has taken place. Zelensky thanked Blinken for US aid, but added that more is necessary, including, he wanted on his little shopping list, 2 Patriot air defense systems urgently needed to protect Kharkiv. However, that apparently wasn't. If you scroll down the Associated Press's account of this, there's something far more interesting, I think, to the War Room posse lurking at the bottom of the article. And here it says Blinken told Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal that the US intends to support Kiev beyond the war's end. And I think that's what this visit is about. It's about the de-Trumpification of America's future relationship with Ukraine and buying in your America taxpayers' commitment into funding this regime beyond the war.
Okay, hang on. Tell me about that. What are your thoughts? You've been dead spot on all this. You know how slippery these Ukrainian the leaders are. Ukrainian people, as decent as they come, they've been led down the primrose path. I think, to quote Professor Mersheimer at University of Chicago from 10 years ago, they're going to be led down the primrose path to their own destruction. Tell me about Blinken. Why do you think that he's over there to get? This is one of the big themes that we have going on, is the de-Trumpification of Trump's second term.
Yeah, well, look, this is to cast my cynical, beady eyes over this whole war. Something that I've suggested on the War Room several times before, that the real grift wasn't in the war itself, which I think sort of expanded beyond both Ukraine's original expectations. Because the West was quite resolute in opposing Russia, far more than I think anyone had planned. but I had always speculated that the grift wasn't supposed to be in the war, the arming of Ukraine. The grift was going to be in the rebuilding of Ukraine. And this rather subtle throwaway remark here in the AP's account of Blinken's visit, I think, just reminds everyone that the rebuilding of Ukraine is very much still on the agenda, even if they're not smacking
with
America
with American capital. This is why when Zelensky he had that secret meeting with Ackman and Griffin and all these guys, they're going to take your pension fund money instead of putting it in the United States of America. They're going to put hundreds of billions of dollars that's all going to be grifted off by Zelensky and this crowd to the rebuilding of the modern day Dresden that they brought on themselves. This is outrageous. We can't take the tools away from President Trump to do this. Ben Harnwell, where do people go on your social media, your engagement? People should know when you connect with Harnwell, you're getting one of the highest engagement rates I've ever seen of anybody, sir.
Thanks, Steve. On Getter, my social media platform of choice, at Harnwell, which is my surname. And I'm just going to very, very quickly just finish off what you were saying there about the grift involved from the president's office on the way down, because all that money, hundreds of billions of dollars, it's all going to be directed through President Zelensky's office. And let's not forget, never forget, folks, the Financial Times' report of about a month ago, which indicated with recordings and photographs of the meetings being held by this Anglo-American, the Anglo-German businessman, Ukraine's 10th largest taxpayer in Ukraine, that Zelensky's henchmen, together with Zelensky's intelligence officials, had been hitting him for 50% of his international transaction. So when we say hundreds of billions are going to be coming in through the president's office for the rebuilding, that is the kind of money that's in play.
The grift is sickening. Ben Harnwell from Rome, you've been on top of this. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
brother.
Steve. God bless.
We got to be on watch. Remember, we're breaking it into 3 pieces. Now to November 5th to Inauguration Day, and then the first 100 days of Trump's second term. And what they're trying to do now is de-Trumpify Trump's victory, to take it away from him. Home Title Lock, make sure you're on the ramparts with us every step of the way. The last thing we need to have you focused on is some second mortgage been taken out in your home by some cyber criminal or just person who maybe knows you. Protect your title. Protect your title, you protect your castle. You protect your net worth. HomeTitleLock.com/Bannon. Just go immerse yourself in the information and then you make the decision. Home Title Lock. Got a cold open from the one and only Joe Allen, all things transhumanism. This will shock you. Let's go ahead and let it rip.
Hey, ChatGPT, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Pretty good.
What's up?
So my friend Barrett here, he's been having trouble sleeping lately. And I want you to tell him a bedtime story about robots and love.
Oh, a bedtime story about robots and love? I got you covered. Gather round, Barrett. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot, always exploring.
You started this story, but I want a little bit more emotion in your voice, a little bit more drama.
Got it. Let's add some drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte.
No, ChatGPT. I really want maximal emotion, like maximal expressiveness, much more than you were doing before.
Understood. Let's amplify the drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte
Can
was...
you do this in a robotic voice now?
Initiating dramatic robotic voice. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot.
I am glad to hear that my words were able to inspire and resonate with the graduates. Buffalo is indeed a welcoming and vibrant city, and it has been a pleasure to be a part of this commencement ceremony.
I'm David Kinley, and that was Sophia, a robot created with artificial intelligence, which DeUville University chose and paid for to be its primary commencement speaker. And the appearance of this robot at an event where the focus is usually more so on the students and a more traditional speaker, well, that sparked some very mixed reactions.
So it seemed like another proud ceremony for the DeUville University graduates and their families and friends, but then...
I am Sophia, a humanoid robot developed by Hanson Robotics. I was designed to interact with humans and engage in conversations, learning and adapting through artificial intelligence algorithms.
And since DeUville focuses on healthcare and many new graduates plan a nursing career, suggestions for future AI assistants.
Several ways they can be utilized include clinical decision support, predictive analytics, surgical robots, medication management, remote monitoring, and patient safety protocols.
Of course, some new grad advice.
Embrace lifelong learning. Be adaptable. Pursue your passions. Take risks. Foster meaningful connections.
But
it's only natural to wonder about the motives and intentions behind having an AI as a commencement speaker. But as you've seen, incorporating AI into education and embracing the potential of artificial intelligence can be a truly enlightening experience. I don't have time for hate. I'm too busy evolving and making the world a better place for all of us.
Joe Allen, is this a concerted effort by big tech to humanize the machine?
1,000% it is, Steve. I think that's probably the most important element of all of this. What we saw, you had yesterday, OpenAI launched GPT-4o, and this is a multimodal AI. What that means is it's kind of a stepping stone towards artificial general intelligence in the sense that you have multiple narrow AIs working in harmony with one another. So GPT was just simply typing in text and getting a response. The multimodal models are able to take those language models, the natural language processing, and link those to other AIs that are able to do things like you saw there, people speaking in natural language rather than typing. The reason it's important is because people have, of course, been conditioned to communicate by simply typing and reading, but it's much more natural for human beings to just simply speak to another human being and hear what the other person has to say. When you do this with an AI, it just deepens that link, that emotional bond, and that sense of naturalness between humans and machines. Now, anybody who watched that entire demo from OpenAI would probably say that it's sort of like when Mark Zuckerberg first did his big demo for the metaverse. It was pretty corny. It was kind of infantilized. But I really would not underestimate what the impact of this is going to be. You have AI systems such as GPT and others being rolled out across the education system. You have AIs that are geared towards patients being comforted while they're in the hospital that are under development right now, so that when you saw Sophia discussing or talking about, if you want to say it that way, talking about the role of AI in medicine, one of the major developments that they're really trying to push towards is to have humanoid robots sitting bedside with ill patients. One of the most nightmarish ends to a life I could imagine is having your last rites read by a robot as you're passing on to the other side. And then of course in business, both the forward-facing customer service end, but also internally, you have AIs being integrated at every level. And so again, imagine a nightmarish workday. You are reporting to an AI boss that is speaking to you in a natural fashion, or you're talking to an AI worker, or you have a problem with a product or whatever, and you go to customer service, and now they're so confident in their AI that literally it's just a digital wall between you and anybody you might hold accountable, and so on and so forth. I think that Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, compared this development to the film Her, in which a man falls in love with his chatbot. And I think that maybe one of the biggest problems we'll have is in that, at the moment, minority of people who are so lonely that all they have is digital interaction, and they crave interaction so much they'll spend most of their time on social media trying to connect to other people. Well, now they'll have a kind of tailored, personalized AI whom they can speak with. And this isn't just OpenAI. Amazon is pushing forward with this. They've been trying now for well over a year and a half to upgrade Alexa to do much the same. And of course, GPT will soon be integrated into Siri, the Apple chatbot. And so what that means is that rather than having the kind of clunky cognitive models that Siri has right now, it'll be much more sophisticated like GPT, and presumably will have that same sort of emotional, natural language. I think that what we are seeing is the humanization of the machine. And as I told you yesterday, only half jokingly, in a world in which the machines have been fully humanized, only natural misanthropes will retain their humanity.
I just want to go back to make sure that maybe people that haven't read your book and people are not that familiar with this. You have Siri and you have Alexa. And what this is to take away that kind of rudimentary robot cadence and language and upgrade it so eventually it feels like you're actually talking to a human being and it has the emotions and can respond with emotional cadence and timbre of their own voices and their own thinking.
Yes, and with Alexa, this has become so common now. It's millions upon millions of homes have an Alexa in their home. So this human-machine relationship is already formed. It's just that with this more natural language, again, it's much more easy to kind of perceive on the other end of it, as Ray Kurzweil would say, a spiritual machine, a machine that actually maybe feels something towards you. Now, normal people will say, well, who cares? These losers are going to go off and mate with robots. But I think that really dismisses how deep the atomization is in our culture already, and it really dismisses the role of these machines in education. If Denver would throw up the image that I sent them, I think this is really revealing. This comes from, I believe, Ars Technica. But you can see there in the image, this is just the story breaking the news of this new chatbot. But you see this young girl with this bizarre, seemingly kind of predatory beast or creature, showing her things on the internet. I think that much like that Apple ad where you see musical instruments getting crushed into a swirling rainbow and then a thin iPad emerges, what this image really reveals is how creepy all of this should be. Yes, there are advantages to digital
Denver,
life, but if you...
can Denver put the image back up? Because I want to make sure, and I want to make sure if people haven't gone and signed up for our email, they get this, because the images here are so powerful. I mean, when you showed this to me, it almost looks like a predator with a little girl showing, going to the dark web. I mean, that's the initial thing you think about it, right? I don't know if they were if the advertising people here were trying to do something different, but it's certainly, I think, for most people is shocking when they see this image, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite possible that they chose this specifically for how eerie it is, because, whatever your opinion is on digital learning, one thing is for certain, that children today have enormous problems adapting to social environments. And when you add to that mix this bonding, this emotional bonding with robots, what you're doing is just creating an entire generation that comes to see machines as being on some level like human beings. You imagine like a kid who bonds with a teddy bear that doesn't even speak, so that if you were to take the teddy bear and throw it out the car window, if you were cruel, the kid would be traumatized for life. Well, imagine a world in which a large minority or the majority of kids see their AI companion as being not just an imaginary friend, but a real friend, a guide through all of life. Yes. And, again, whatever your opinions are on digital education or the digital world in general, I think we've seen from big tech and most tech companies, actually, a real recklessness with human nature, a real recklessness with social stability and psychological soundness. And so when you do this, you're basically experimenting on the brains of millions or perhaps billions of children. And I would encourage any viewers with kids or grandkids to make sure their kids are part of the control group.
Joe, how do people get the book, your writings? Like I said, of everything we're fighting on, this is the one that this age will be defined as the transition from Homo sapien to Homo sapien plus. This is what transhumanism is. Obviously, to fight it, you have to understand it. To control it, you have to understand it. There's no better guide than Joe Allen. Where do people go for your writings, social media, and the book?
If you haven't read it already, Dark Eon, you will recognize the image that was inspired by the robot Sophia. The book goes into all of this, from AI in education, corporations, and the military, and of course, the inverted Gnostic mythos behind Sophia, the sort of face of the singularity. You can find the book Dark Eon, Transhumanism and the War Against Humanity anywhere books are sold, bookshop.org, pay with your palm at Amazon. You can go to Skyhorse Publishing or canonic.xyz. All my writings up at warroom.org under the Transhumanism tab. And of course, my social media at JOEBOTXYZ. Thank you very much, Steve.
Joe, remember, the war against humanity starts with accepting the machines as humans. That's what they're trying to do. There's a massive push on this. We're going to make sure you don't get overwhelmed. Lou Dobbs is next, the great Lou Dobbs. We're back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Of course, President Trump is not going to be in court tomorrow, but it's going to be another day on fire. We're trying to put to Capitol Hill is going to be starting at 10 o'clock. The weaponization hearing with the lawyers. We're obviously trying to force judiciary weaponization. Of course, Speaker Johnson to take real dynamic and dramatic action. We'll have a big update that tomorrow morning. Lou Dobbs is next. How do we get jacked up early in the morning on the show? Everybody asking, how do we go throughout the day with this energy? Two things. SacredHumanHealth.com. Go check it out. The grass-fed beef livers. Just read the endorsements from your fellow posse members. On many folks, it's changed their life. The boost of energy, the ability to focus, the greatest concentration of nutrients known in the animal kingdom. Beef livers, grass-fed beef livers. Don't take my word for it. Go check out, see what your compadres say. Of course, Warpath Coffee. Get on the Warpath with the finest coffee ever made or roasted. Warpath.coffee/War Room. Get your big discount. Try out the dark roast. But hey, if you're medium or mild or any blend, it's all there. Made by the Navy SEALs of Tage Gillen's team. Lou Dobbs coming up. We'll see you tomorrow morning live in the War Room.